Words are about to be spoken on the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy, brought to you by the Ad Free Shows Podcast Heat and Wrestling According to Alba Networks. I'm Jon Alba, that guy right there at the Hardy compound, the broken one, the woken one, the spoken one himself, Mr. Matt Hardy. What's going on, man? You're back from Sin City, and you're rocking and rolling at the Hardy compound.
I am back from Bedlam. Oh my God. Sin City was Bedlam, pure and utter chaos in Bedlam. It was an insane schedule, an insane time in a lot of ways, but you know, that's what Mania week is. And I've kind of grown to adore it in many ways.
Man, are you like alive right now?
I'm half alive. You know, if we're playing a video game, my power meter is like about halfway, and it's slowly increasing.
Your status bar is halfway.
Yes, my status bar is halfway, and I'm slowly trying to power up.
Okay, all right. I feel that entirely. I definitely empathize with that. We got a lot of people watching via wrestlingaccordingtoalba.com, which of course you can click that. You can join. You'll get the access to the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy just about every single week. You get some live Q&As with me. We do some tape studies. It's super, super fun. We got Rajiv, who's always joining us, says we need to get a V1 emoji out of the broken universe.
I like it. V1!
Rosie was with you. He said, hardest worker in Vegas.
Oh, man. Coach Rosie. Man, big props to Coach Rosie. I got to tell you, man. Like, I almost want to, at some point, we should bring him on and just let you talk about the things he witnessed since we did that. It was great. He came over to the hotel where we're at, Westgate, and he sat in with the Hardy Party, help keep things secure, make sure everything was good. Real good turnout. We had a fun night that night. Did our deal. Rosie was total. He volunteered to do everything. He was totally in for everything. He ran out. He got his car. Jeff ran up to his room following his concert. He had like 10 minutes. Jeff changed, put on his gear. I had put on my gear. I left during his concert and went and got dressed. And we walked with our bags out the door, you know, because this event was going to start at midnight and we were going to be getting there about 11:30ish. And we were wrestling Devon Dudley's kids, which we'd never been in the ring before. So, you know, it was going to be a first time ever. So we needed a little prep time. And we were early. We were going to be, you know, first, second, or third match. Anyway, we got there. The show was delayed. It didn't start until about 1 a.m. So it was chaos. We ended up going out there about 2 a.m. Very much a fourth rope show. You know, those things are very unpredictable. But we went out there in the crowd. There was 2,500 people out there. Had a great little match with the spawn of Devon Dudley and did our thing, man.
The spawn of Devon Dudley.
The spawn of Devon Dudley. There's many spawn of Devon Dudley out there.
That's true. There are. Did they say testify, my brother? Testify?
No, they didn't hit it. But you know, the best thing was Devon came out and people did pop because they're like, oh snap, Devon, like his Bubba coming. And, you know, he came out and he said, oh, you'll never be better than us. You'll never be the greatest of all time. You want to face all these young teams because, you know, you can't handle us. You can't, you know, we'll beat your ass again. I said, well, come on. I said, I know Bubba's in town. Bring Bubba out right now. Let's go. Let's go. And we'll see.
Oh,
but then he said, well, I'll bring a young team out that's going to take you guys out. My sons, TNT. And that's how this whole thing came to be.
Did they take you out?
They unfortunately did not take us out. They unfortunately ate a plot twist and a swanton / crouton.
You hate to see it, don't you?
Couldn't happen to a better guy.
Rosie says the elevator ride was epic.
Oh my God, the elevator ride! Thank you, Rosie, for reminding me of this.
This sounds like a good old wrestling story here.
Do you know this at all, John?
You smartened me up.
I did smarten you up, right? So here you go to everyone listening, everyone enjoying the pod. So the ref came up and said, okay, guys, you have 5 minutes and then you're going to be up. We're like, okay, we'll head down. So we go over to the elevator and, you know, we've all been in those hotels and facilities that have those super slow ass elevators. So we go over to the elevator, you know, we hit the button. Okay. Waiting. We wait probably 7 or 8 minutes on this elevator. And I'm like, well, nobody has ran up the stairs. Nobody's yelling. Nobody's calling, you know, it's gotta be fine. You know, we probably have a little more time. And we get off the elevator and we had to walk probably 250 feet to where the gorilla position was. And they go, hey, your music's playing. And I can hear in the background, dun it, dun it, dun it, dun it. As we're getting off the elevator, Jeff's like, man, I gotta use the bathroom.
Oh man.
But we walked straight through and they're like, come on, we gotta go. It's eating into your time. And I'm like, and I'm so checked out of this time and I'm being the vet. I'm going, why would you guys start on music if we're not here? We sat up there waiting on this elevator for 10 minutes. We came down when we heard 5, and that elevator took 7 or 8 minutes to get up there. I said, why would you start on music? There's a whole bunch of rappers, a whole bunch of entertaining people. Can you send them out to like entertain the crowd for a couple minutes or whatever? We'd already started late, but we went out, our music was playing. We made them wait. We made them wait so we get a little bigger pop. We go out, we go to the ring, we do our thing. And then it's so funny. I've never seen this before. We have the match, we finish, we come back from this one time, we come back and I'm like, thank you. And Jeff had already ran off. He just had to go to the bathroom. He'd still been holding it for the 11 minutes we were out there, whatever, which was so wild.
Oh man, that reminds me of when we were in Atlantic City for our live show, and we're about to we couldn't find Brother Nero. We had no idea where he was, and we finally track him down. We're like, all right, we're about to get this started. I start queuing up. He goes, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom. And
and we filled the town, brother.
So then I was like, with Jerry as guitarist, we're just like, what do you want to play? And we're just playing stuff. And then all of a sudden we go into No More Words. And all of a sudden you see Jeff running in with it. I was like, okay, now we're good. This is where we're at. So, sounds like a fun time there in Las Vegas. And I'm glad that I heard it was a great crowd for the Hardy Party. I was bummed I couldn't be there. So super, super happy to hear it all went well. And the Hardys are just as over in 2025 as they've ever been. And that Dennis Rodman was a big fan, right?
Yeah, it's so wild. We were doing pro photo ops, and I've never had this happen before too. They said we were sold out and we had to schedule 2 sessions. It's like, and they said there was like a limit of 160 people they could put in the space, and we had sold 160. So we had to do 2. We did one at like 12:30 and one at 2 p.m. And I've never heard that before. They said your photo op was bought so much day one, we had to do 2 sessions with you, which was crazy. Anyway, we were up there and they said, we don't want to start your photo op. Said, if you give us just a few more minutes, Dennis Rodman's running late. He comes back over and, he's like, hey, what up? And his manager was like, hey guys, I'd love to take a picture with you. Can we grab one? Sure. And we jump in there, and me and Jeff and Dennis Rodman and his manager, he's in the back too. And we snapped that photo, man, and get it done. It was wild. And that was the last photo I expected to take, or, it even thought about. I didn't even realize he was there, but it is what it is.
No Carmen Electra?
No Carmen Electra this time, unfortunately.
Okay. I would have liked to have taken a photo of Carmen Electra personally.
Right.
That's besides the point. Josh Henney watching via WrestlingAccordingToAlba.com. So
there he is.
I was always happy to be here. And
what up, Josh?
The longest line. We got Jen here. What's up, Jen? Good to see you.
Hello, Jen.
Always great to hang out live with Matt Hardy on WrestlingAccordingToAlba.com, and you can do that too by signing up today. I'm so happy to hear it was a great weekend. I have no doubt that you guys were going to clean up, and it seems that you very much did. WrestleMania week comes and goes super, super quickly, but it was loaded with shows, loaded with a ton of exciting things that celebrate the industry. And this week's episode, last week we previewed WrestleMania. This week we're going to review WrestleMania. We're going to talk about some of the fallout that's happened, because there's been quite a bit of fallout, especially as a result of the main event that has really taken charge of some of the wrestling headlines. I do want to say before we get into any of that, Matt, as we tape this, it's Thursday, so some of you are getting this early access, but most of you will hear this on Friday. And on Impact, you had another Hardy compound sighting with the Nemeths coming over to the compound. Another opportunity to show how weird and wacky things get over in Cameron, huh?
Yes, indeed. A very interesting stop, and please, everyone that is watching this live, please check it out tonight. I'm sure you will enjoy it. And I do want to say, for anyone that, and it's very strange. It's growing in numbers. There are people that are fans of just House Hardy, and that's referring to myself, Jeff, obviously, but my wife as well, and Senior Benjamin and all the kids. All of House Hardy will be appearing and making cameos in tonight's production. So if you're watching this on Friday, I hope you enjoyed it. And it was definitely interesting. And I think you see these kids, they have a little bit of interest in pursuing pro wrestling.
I was going to say, are they natural performers?
Wolfgang certainly is. Wolfgang is the most natural of all the performers, no doubt. And Barty's doing well too. Maxwell is real good from the physical aspect like that. He's kind of in that age now, I think, where he's maturing out of feeling like a little kid to being almost like a teenager. So he's like,
almost a preteen.
what's cool and what's not cool. So sometimes he's a little hesitant, but the other two are all in, and so is the Gothic Baby as well. The Gothic Baby is going to be a little show stiller in her scene with Rebby as well.
Okay. All right. Love to hear that. Love to hear that. You had a chance to team with Mike Santana. I do want to plug. I dropped a long form feature on Mike Santana on the Takedown on Sports Illustrated this week. That is just such a tremendous story about overcoming addiction and substance abuse and grief and being a good family man. And I know those are all traits that you really associate with. Did you enjoy working with Santana this past week?
I did very much, and your piece is great. I recommend everyone check it out. Very, very compelling and inspiring piece. And Mike Santana has been great to get to know. You know, I worked with him at AEW, obviously, and he was a little more closed off there. And I think that's before he was like out of the darkness. You know,
you were in Stadium Stampede with him, right?
I was, yes, I was in Stadium Stampede with him and enjoyed doing stuff with him. You know, but he's you know, was a little more closed off, a little protected in some ways there, and he is kind of in a protective space. And in general, I think you'll see a lot of guys that are in recovery will kind of be in a protective space just to make sure to put themselves first and foremost. It's kind of what they stress you to do, obviously, and that's what you should do. But I was just going to say, I just recently working with him at TNA, and we've been working with him quite a bit over the last few months. It's been really great getting to know him and be a little personable with him. And this week we teamed with him. He was great. We had a great match. We really enjoyed it. We took a couple cool photos before the match to enjoy it. And I'm really happy for him and really proud of him and his journey and where he's at and how great of a father he is. And I think one thing we have in common, probably more than anything else, is how much we love our children and how we would do anything for our children.
Yeah, I highly encourage you, not just because I wrote it, but because it's a great story, to check out the piece, because he is a survivor in its truest form, and he was so fantastic. So go check that out on the Takedown on SI. I appreciate the kind words. Josh Henny saying, rest in peace, Steve Mongo McMichael.
Oh man, yeah, that was sad. I mean, everyone knew it was coming, but you know that was sad when anyone has to suffer to such a disease like he had. And eventually leave this earth, and that is what he has done. So rest in peace, Steve Mongo McMichaels.
You ever get a chance to meet Mongo?
I want to say I met him briefly for a moment, but there really no interaction. Just like where a couple ships in the night, there was a WWF, WCW show in the same town, and we saw some of the other guys, and I just saw him briefly. So I never had a long conversation with him. I never really had any kind of interaction with him, but you know, I obviously knew him from the football world, and then I enjoyed the stuff he did with Flair and WCW.
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, he was a legitimately great football player.
Yes.
A lot of the football players who cross over into wrestling, you know, maybe they had a cup of coffee in the NFL or whatever. He was like a legit NFL football player who crossed over into wrestling and had a pretty memorable wrestling career and became one of Ric Flair's closest friends. He's a great success story, isn't he?
He is. He really is. And that is one thing I knew. You know, I knew he was a big deal playing football. I remember him playing football, you know, especially when the Bears were real hot and they were, you know, a very winning team.
Super Bowl shuffle.
Yeah, man. But I much respect for him, especially making that transition over to pro wrestling. And it's something that he truly loved. And you could tell that in the way he performed and the way he took everything in.
Certainly so. And thoughts and prayers out to his family. And just ALS, just an awful disease. And they raised a lot of awareness for it. So that's always a positive to take away at the end of the day. Okay, my friend. Anything else you want to hit on before we get into Mania here?
I think we're pretty good here.
All right.
We should probably delve right in because Mania was a big Mania, you know?
Well, you know, before we can, I got to ask you, please, Matt Hardy, hit us with that Matt Fact.
Matt Fact, Matt low-key enjoys Mania Week chaos.
Low-key? I feel like you pretty high-key enjoy them.
Well, sometimes if you catch me during the week, you'll hear me half-ass complaining like,
okay.
I've got these 3 appearances. Oh, I got 4.
I do. You were wrestling until like 5 a.m. Eastern this past week.
Yeah, no, I mean, it started for me. I mean, it was such a chaotic week because Jeff and I, you know, we've told TNA, like, we want as much time with our kids. We'll take the last flight in. So we were supposed to get in like 12:15. And And then we ended up being a little bit delayed, so we ended up getting in with our connection about 1, and then I got to the hotel. I actually had to shoot. I don't know if you saw this online. It was the very end of the Unbreakable pay-per-view. It's where the Nemesis opened an invitation. There was a hologram popped out and invited them to the Hardy compound, which might be their final, their final destination. And I shot that night after getting in. When they prepared that the next day, said, "Hey, we really need this from you. Can we do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course, man." So I'm there. I get in the bed probably 3:00, 2:45, 3 a.m. in the morning. I was up at 7 just so I could try and get a little bit in. We had the all day Chris Bay breakfast and Q&A deal. So then I got a little training in. I did that thing. We went there with Chris Bay. We were there till midday, noon. And then I hopped on with you, John. We did last week's podcast right then and there in the locker room. People popping in and out, and we're trying to they'd walk in, they're like, "Oh shit, sorry," and they'd walk back out. They said, "Sorry, we didn't mean to come in the top guy locker room." I heard that over and over. It's funny. I was in the small room because I was the first one there, and then finish that. Then we go to work. We do that. We go out. We have a great match. Myself, Jeff, and Mike Santana defeat the Nemesis and Mustafa Ali. So we did that deal, and then we signed autographs that night till about 2 a.m. So that's how that worked, the post-show deal. And just thank God, right, we were on West Coast time because the show ended at 10 because we did it live after Impact. Impact was 8 to 10, and this pay-per-view aired East Coast 10 to 1, and it was on regular time on the West Coast there. So then we finished that, and then that meet and greet done about 2 a.m. By the time we get back to the hotel, we get in bed 3:00, 3:30. That next morning we had to be up at 7:30 to get our stuff together, check out, and leave by 7:50, 8 o'clock to go to WrestleCon to start signing at 9.
Hey.
We went there. You know what I mean? This is how this week was. We go to WrestleCon that day. We sign at WrestleCon from 9 till about 3:10, 3:15, 6 hours and change. We go back. We have a private signing thing that we had to do that we'd had set up for a while, which was an hour. We do that. We come back. We just have just enough time. I shave, I shower, and then we get in the car. WWE sent a little limo over to get us. We go to WWE. We sit there. We do 90 minutes of work with WWE, and we see some people while we're there, whatever. This ends up being about 2 hours. By the time we get back, it is time for the Hardy party. I literally rush to my room. I freshen up real quick. I go right back down, bam, out on stage, doing the deal, hour long. Jeff actually shortened his to 45 minutes because it was running. We were running a little heavy, and he did 45 minutes, 50 minutes. Josh ran out, got his car. We went up, we put on our gear. We came down in our gear just to be ready to go to the ring. Whenever we had to go to the ring and call it, brother. We were going to do it. We go out there, and then we go, okay, well, the show's going to be delayed a little bit. We're sorry, guys. You need to be on early. You got a busy day tomorrow, whatever else. And we go, okay, we're fine. We'll breathe. And we just chilled. We had time. We had to stretch and loosen up a little bit. But I am full-blown exhausted. I got to tell you, I was going out in front of these people. We were the fourth segment, maybe third match. And the crowd gave us a great pop, great reaction. And I was just going I was firing up as much as I could. And I'm in my mind, I'm going, holy shit, I feel dead inside. I feel dead inside.
It's like that day we did the 2 live shows. That day we were both just running on fumes. And
and it's legit. We're going out and it's 1:40 and it's 4:40 at home. And I slept, the last couple of days, 7 hours, whatever it was, 7 hours, 8 hours at the most between them both. And then we do that, blah, 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 blah. We finish. It's about 2:30. We get back. By the time we get to the hotel, it's 4 o'clock in the morning before we're going to bed. We got to be up at 8 to start again. You know what I mean? So it was a never-ending cycle. It was the whole week, and it was just
got to get those Celsiuses going, bro. Got to get those Celsiuses going. That's all it boils down to.
God, yeah, I was popping some monsters, no doubt.
All right, let's get into this, my man. You had a chance to watch WrestleMania. I had a chance to watch WrestleMania. You've seen all the discourse. Without getting into any specifics, your overall thoughts on this 2-day extravaganza?
I thought WrestleMania was a good event. I thought it was a good event. I won't, I wouldn't say it was a grand slam or home run, but I do think it was a very good, solid event.
Okay. Out of the 41 WrestleManias, is it a top 10 WrestleMania for you? Or is it sitting somewhere in the middle?
I don't know. I think it was a solid WrestleMania. I think we had a huge success. I think the CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins match. I think it was a huge success from match quality, and especially with the angle. And I think the angle is what people are going to remember. And I think they're going to start building something very special now that you have not only Seth Rollins in this position, but Paul Heyman and now Braun Breaker. So I'm really curious where all that's going to go, and I'm excited for the possibilities. So I think that was huge. I think the three-way women's match was fantastic. I thought the girls went out there and killed it. They went out there like they had something to prove. Like, hey, follow this, you sons of bitches. You know, that they really wanted to prove themselves. And you know, the thing that is so polarizing, much like it has been for all of John Cena's career, John Cena's been a very polarizing individual, right? And this match was very polarizing in many ways. And I watched back the match, and I told you I watched the first half of it, and then I had to leave to go to the airport. So I missed like the second half, and just with everything I read about it, and you know, as frustrated as people were from it, I thought it was much better than what they were saying. I thought the match was fine. It's almost what I expected for a Cena match in some ways. But I think at the end of the day, I think that ended up being a positive thing. I have a couple critiques when we get to it. I'll talk about it.
Okay.
But I do think it was a net positive overall.
Okay. All right. Rajiv saying night 2 was better than night 1, but other than being in a stadium, it felt like a regular premium live event and not special. You know, I got to tell you, man, I tend to agree with that take. Night 2 definitely felt more like WrestleMania than night 1 did to me. And you and I, even as they happened, I said that too, as night 1 was going on. I said to you, I was like, this feels like a B pay-per-view. And it didn't really feel to me like WrestleMania. The main event definitely had more of a WrestleMania feel to it for sure. Night 2 as a whole felt a lot more like WrestleMania. I think the crowd was a lot hotter night 2, which definitely helped the event.
Yes.
Get over
100%. The crowd night 2 was much, much hotter.
Yeah. The stage looked pretty cool. I thought very unique having fans sitting on the stage, which was different. But one thing I just couldn't get over, man, and this is a general comment about the event, and it's kind of a general comment about WWE too right now. Everything just felt so sterile and corporate. Like the stage is sponsored. There's 20 corporate graphics on the mat. Michael Cole has to hit 5 ad reads between every single match. And from a business perspective, you know, Nick Khan and company and TKO, they're thrilled, right? Like that's what you brought a guy like Nick Khan in for. But at its heart, it just felt so sterile to me from a viewing experience perspective. Did that come across to you at all?
No, I mean, to me, I think it just feels like a new era of WWE, you know, the post Vince era, you know, not even saying Triple H, but you also have like Nick Khan's, you have, they're doing all these endorsements, you know, Vince would never have any of that. And that was a Vince personal thing. Vince would never have that, but now they're cool with doing this, and they're making more money than they've ever done. And I think they are treating WWE as what they want it to be, a money-making machine, and they are trying to do everything they can to make the most money that they possibly can. They're trying to be as profitable as they can. I loved the stage. I love the effects. I like the Jey Uso entrance. I thought was great. You know, the Cody entrance I thought was great. I love those special entrances. You know what I mean? That is what, to me, if anything else, gave it a WrestleMania feel. Now, the matches weren't of all the best quality, like you might hope or expect for a WrestleMania, but I also think too that's something that, you know, WWE, you know, that I don't think that'll ever be their thing, especially because AEW exists right now, and I think AEW.
Come on,
I think AEW pushes, you know, the way they push that and the match quality they have.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to compare that to WWE because WWE, they are still more of an entertainment entity.
I don't think you have to compare it to AEW. Last year's WrestleMania had significantly better match quality. Like WWE is capable of doing that if they want to do that. And this show had matches that proved they're capable of doing that. So I don't know. That opinion from Matt Hardy, brought to you by Xfinity, is all I have to say. So let's get into it. Jey Uso defeats Gunther to start night 1, man. They went 16 minutes and 30 seconds. I'd love your thoughts on how this match was laid out, because there was quite a bit of discourse about how this match was laid out. And I think for a lot of people it was laid out quite differently than they might have expected it to. But Jey does get the big moment, and people were very into the big moment. No question about that.
I had no idea what to expect because, you know, I knew you had watched this. This was a match I didn't see. I didn't start till later because, like, I wasn't finished in that day until later. So I was very happy with the match. I thought it was really good. One thing that I thought was interesting and I kind of liked it was a different twist. And one thing I also expected, knowing WWE, they didn't want these people to go nuts. They didn't want a ton of stuff outside. They didn't want people through tables, whatever else. This is the first match. It's supposed to set the pace for the show. It's supposed to be a great match. And because it's a world title, they were going to have a little bit of flexibility to do more things than usual. But one thing I thought was interesting in it was how people, Gunther especially, was using Jey Uso stuff. Jey Uso did some of Gunther stuff and vice versa. The fact I popped huge when Gunther went up and did that splash,
Well,
I mean,
he always does the splash though.
yeah, I know, but I just did in this match,
Yeah.
especially just because it was Jey Uso and it was just like he was mimicking him in some ways. And I love the finish that they made Gunther a monster in him getting beat by Jey, because I want to say it was a German suplex, and then he ended up power bombing him, and then it was splash off the top, splash off the top, splash off the top, and then a choke and tap out, if I'm not mistaken. So I do like the fact that he was they made him chop him down like he's the monster, and he had to chop him down at the very end to beat him. And the fact that they gave Jey Uso a submission win and Gunther tapped out, I think puts a lot of credibility on that win right from the jump.
Yeah, my issue with the match layout, a lot of people were pissed off about Gunther tapping to his finisher. I actually didn't have an issue with that at all. I think if you're telling everyone that like Jay's a legitimate threat,
Yeah,
him making Gunther tap to his own move is kind of a cool story to tell. And
I thought that was the perfect story to tell.
yeah, and it actually, if you think about it, it's kind of Gunther giving his own move equity, right? He's like, my own move made me tap out. So I think that actually works. I didn't have an issue with that at all. But
And I think more than anything else, and I even think Gunther would agree with this. I mean, it's something that makes Jey, like, Gunther is kind of a made guy. He'd been the champion. People buy him as a legitimate wrestler, and Jay's the one that's having the problem getting over those hurdles about being like a good wrestler, or like someone who's legit, who's deserving of being the champion. And I think Gunther did everything he could to try and like push everything he could onto Jey to help him succeed in that area.
Yeah, I just didn't think that having a match where Jey is matching everything Gunther does really services who the Jey character is, especially the fighting from underneath babyface. I would not have had an issue, Matt, if they played this match pretty much like they did the Sami Zayn match last year, where, Sami ate a lot of the heat, and then he had this big fiery comeback where he had to chop the beast down, similar to how Jey did, and he shocks him and surprises him. I thought Jimmy should have been used much more in an effective role in this match, where Jimmy didn't come out until after the match was over. I think, what if Gunther's got Jey in his choke and he's fading, and then Jimmy comes running down to the ring to fire up the crowd. He's banging the mat. Everyone's getting into it, and that feeds the big comeback from Jey where he chops the beast down. Like, that's such a classic wrestling underdog story to me, and I think that would have played a little more into the story that they've been telling. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, it wasn't so much the vehicle of how they got there. It was getting to the moment that they wanted, which was Jey tapping out Gunther. And the crowd went crazy for it. They were very happy to see Jey Uso win at the end of the day.
Yes. And I remember when Jeff won the WWE title in that match. I came out and celebrated with him afterwards. And there were, at one point, there was an idea on the table about me coming out. And I remember they didn't go with it. And the reason why, they said, like, we're trying to make Jeff the world heavyweight champion, the top guy of the promotion. We need to make him a single star, stand out on his own. And it's hard. We don't want to make it seem like there's his partner out here helping him in any capacity. We want to really isolate and focus totally on him. And I almost feel that same kind of mindset with Jey in this scenario. I think it's different. If Jey can be legitimized as a world champion, then you can always do stuff like this. If he's facing some monster and his brother could come out and cheer him on or have his back, or, if there's somebody outside the ring messing with him,
I don't want Jimmy to cheat. I didn't want Jimmy to cheat. I was just saying, like, rally the crowd sort of thing.
I know, I understand that, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like they just wanted all the focus on Jey and Jey alone. And then at the end, you have his brother coming out in a heartwarming moment to celebrate.
Yeah. We got the New Day defeating the War Raiders in 9 minutes and 15 seconds. And I told you last week, Matt, my concern for this match was going to be this weird dynamic where the War Raiders are so much bigger than the New Day physically, right? And they're the baby faces. So how do you lay out a match like that? And I did feel like this match kind of suffered in that sense. And the New Day took a lot of the match as the heels, and then they kind of stole one at the end and they ran up. it didn't feel like the crowd was super hot for this one, but the New Day do win the tag titles, and they came out in the most amazing outfits ever that were allusions to Giant Gonzalez, which popped me big.
Yes.
What do you think of the New Day win the titles here?
I positively love their outfits. I just got to watch that this morning, so it was tremendous. I understand where you're coming from for sure, and I feel like New Day, even though they are getting booed, people still think the New Day are cool because they're a beloved act. They're falling into that legend status and whatnot. And it was really hard to get sympathy on the War Raiders. I think so. And the crowd. It kind of showed in the crowd, like you said, that crowd was a much more tame for night one than they were for night two. So it was, it was kind of an uphill battle, I think, in the match for them, especially trying to get sympathy on the War Raiders. And it was what it was, because people still do like the New Day, even though they're booing them and they're into their gig as heels. But they got what they wanted to have done, and now they have a fresh start as tag team champions for the first time ever as heels. So I'm excited to see where that run leads.
Well, they endearingly boo them, right?
Yes, they kind of do endearingly boo New Day right now. I do feel that's an accurate description.
Josh, I love the New Day as heels. Good stuff. That's what he says. All right, Jade Cargill defeating Naomi. I was going back and forth on this one, man. I told you last week on the podcast, I thought for sure Jade's win, but then part of me was like, but if they're going heel with Bianca, maybe Naomi would be the route.
Right.
None of that ended up happening. Jade Cargill just pretty much straight up beats her here.
Right.
I thought this was a good opportunity to showcase Naomi as a heel, and I thought she did well. And, this wasn't a WrestleMania classic by any means, but as far as I see it, Matt, it kind of did the job it was supposed to do. What do you think?
I thought so. I thought they had a very, very solid match. I just watched that this morning. It was fresh in my mind, too. And I think for Jade, for her to go out and have a long match like that, which it was, 10, 12 minutes? How long? How many? 10? Yeah, I thought she did really well for a competitive 10-minute match, because that's something she's been working very hard on, to be in the ring with other top performers and other top women and be able to have a competitive match. And I thought Jade did good. I thought Jade really carried her own weight in there.
There was some pretty gnarly spots in this. The dive off the top turn into the jackhammer was pretty insane.
Yeah.
The powerbomb spot. They worked really hard. I thought they went out there and put on as good of a match as.
Where she lifted her up on her shoulders, turned around, powerbombed her. Yes.
Yeah. Look, they had to kind of set that match up around those feats of strength, right? Like that's how you maximize Jade's impact.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, she's just such an anomaly, especially she has such an amazing look. She's a one of one when it comes to that look.
All right, let's keep going here. A few weeks ago, you made some headlines. You said that you thought Jacob Fatu could be top guy in WWE in the not so distant future. He defeats LA Knight here at WrestleMania. I got a lot of thoughts on this match. What were yours?
I liked the match. I thought the match was really good. Now, I got to tell you, when I was watching in real time that night, this is the first match I was able to tune into. And I got to say, with Jacob Fatu, nothing changes. And I think starting at WrestleMania, I think his nascence has begun. I think here we go with Jacob Fatu, man. I dug the match. I thought LA Knight did a great job with him, and I thought they had a hell of a match.
Let me tell you something. This was one of my favorite matches of the weekend, and I had no expectations for that to be the case going in.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I dislike either of these guys. I love Jacob Fatu. I think LA Knight's great. This was LA Knight's best singles match in WWE. Jacob Fatu was so freaking over on the show. That crowd was so into everything that Jacob Fatu was doing.
Right.
The BFT coming off the top was awesome. The quick fire up finish from Fatu, where the crowd knew, okay, this guy's about to win, was awesome. I thought they had great chemistry. And as far as like a 10-minute sprint goes, I don't think you can really have much better of a 10-minute sprint than a match like this. And they both came out for the better as far as I see it.
Yeah. I mean, same. I think Jacob Fatu is going to go on to be a big star anyway. So looking back in hindsight, you're going to say, wow, LA Knight had a competitive match with him. I mean, Jacob Fatu had to bust his ass to beat LA Knight.
Yeah, no, he certainly did. Josh saying Jacob winning was great. I hope they can keep LA Knight remained elevated. And that's important too, right? Like coming out of a loss like that, how do you keep someone important?
I mean, that's the whole secret of pro wrestling. Whether you're winning or losing, if things are done in the right way, you can still kind of keep people at a level, keep them relevant, and keep continuing to elevate them. And that's what I feel like WWE does really, really well. They if they have someone lose some sort of specific big match, they find a way to make a story out of it to continue to elevate them.
Was you saying Jacob Fatu versus Ellen? That was the third best match on the whole WrestleMania card. I might agree with that. So we'll keep going through this here and see what Jacob Fatu's got. El Grande Americano defeated Rey Fenix 7 minutes 55 seconds. Kind of a bummer. This was supposed to be Rey Mysterio. He tore his groin on the SmackDown before, and forced him to miss this match.
Right.
They gave El Grande Americano this massive superstar entrance and presentation. Rey Fenix, Matt, unexpectedly getting a WrestleMania match just weeks after debuting. I know you've really grown to have quite the affinity for the Lucha Brothers. So how did it feel seeing your friend in this spot, and what do you think of the short match that they had?
I mean, good for them, man. You know, how cool is that? You and your brother make your WrestleMania debuts in single matches back-to-back nights on the same WrestleMania. Really cool, I think. So super happy for both of them. And I thought it was a great spot for Phoenix to go in there, and Phoenix did not lose anything by being in a big deal of a WrestleMania match, and also facing El Americano Grande.
El Grande Americano.
El Grande Americano.
Oh, I'm going to send that to your wife. That's good. Who's beneath the mask? Who's to say? Yeah, this was, to me, Mac, just kind of like a good TV match. It didn't really feel WrestleMania to me, but I'm not going to hold it against them because the match was kind of put together at the last second. And
right,
as a result, they just did the best they could with the time they were given.
I mean, you never know too, man. They could have had one of those things like myself and Rey Mysterio had. You know, they could have got a ton of time shaved off right before they walked out the door. I mean, that's one thing that, you know, I always remember when these people are out, especially if something goes quickly and like, wow, they try to push a lot in that amount of time they had or whatever else there. You know, you never know the parameters that people are working within. So they went out, and I thought they had a fun little match with it on their head.
Certainly so. All right, let's keep going here. We got to the WWE Women's Championship match, a very polarizing match between Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair after a very polarizing feud at the same time. So, very aggressive and gritty match.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about that. They certainly brought some of the intensity. I'm not sure it matched the type of match that a lot of people thought they were going to have, both being so spectacularly athletic. There wasn't really a lot of emphasis on that type of stuff.
That's very fair.
And how'd you feel about it watching it?
You know, I thought it was okay. There were some things I think that were, you know, a little clunky that looked real in some ways, and there were some things that were a little clunky that, you know, may have not been as great, but there was enough of a story between them, especially for the online audience, I think, where they said, oh my God, they said these comments to one another and they weren't supposed to do it. And like, these people, it's a shoot, you know, they really hate one another, this and that, where some of those things that fell into that match like that almost like falls into whatever the story is, like, oh my God, these people aren't willing to work together and they're having difficulty working together, whatever else. But I feel like there was enough substance in it that when it was all said and done, they got through the match okay. Yeah,
that's more or less how I feel about it too. I'll be honest, you know, the crowd reacted huge to Tiffany and they were very into Tiffany, and she got a great entrance. The Barbie doll entrance was very cool.
Yeah, it was a super cool entrance. I thought it was extremely cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't feel she was really there for the last third of this match. I felt Charlotte was the one who was kind of pulling the weight of it, if I can say it for lack of a better term. And I don't, maybe that's just my observation, you know, who am I to say something like that? But I just felt like something tapered off a little bit, but the intensity was there. The physicality was there, and she took a beating, and props to Tiffany Stratton for taking quite a beating in that match and coming out for the better. It looked like she chipped a tooth, but I guess she's okay. So that's good. It was a little confusing because they were dressed exactly the same way. So when they were brawling, it's hard to tell who was who at some points. It's like when JR used to confuse Edge and Christian or you and Jeff all the time. I was like,
always. Even if we were dressed differently, he would confuse us.
So I'm sharing most of the same sentiment with you on this match.
Yeah,
Leading
and
us to the main event, Seth Rollins defeated CM Punk and Roman Reigns when Paul Heyman turned on both Punk and Reigns to join Seth Rollins. I've got my thoughts. I'm curious how much we agree and disagree on. How'd you feel watching this main event?
Even when I'd made my prediction last week, I maybe thought Vince was still in charge with the way I kind of thought about it, because I know that there was a big percentage of online fans, right? People that are really in the know in wrestling, like, oh my God, what if they do this? And Seth Rollins is the guy that, turns, and Paul Heyman joins Seth Rollins, and he's playing both Punk and Roman, whatever else. And I think you went down that avenue as well, John. But I was just like, maybe do they think so many fans kind of see that they're gonna go do something different, throw in a monkey wrench, whatever else. And as I watched the match and as the story developed and came to be, and you had the great spot where Paul Heyman grabbed a chair, and who's he going to choose, Punk, or is he going to choose Roman? Punk, Roman. And then whenever he does the thing to Punk, and then you see Roman, and he does the low blow, and the Roman reaction, just all that stuff was done masterfully. It was done so well. And when it was all said and done, I loved how they did the finish. The guys without a doubt had a fantastic triple threat match, right? But the drama at the end is what paid off. That'll be one of the biggest memories from this WrestleMania 41. Obviously, Paul Heyman joining Seth Rollins and betraying Roman and both Punk, and I loved all that. And looking back, I said that maybe they'll throw a monkey wrench in, but I'm so glad they didn't, because the way it went down is exactly how it should have went down, and it was so good. I think everybody was really excellent in the roles.
So this was a great triple threat match, and I don't want to take anything away from that. It really was a great match, and it benefited from all three guys being such big stars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Roman, I thought Roman had one of his best performances in quite some time in this match. He was really all in this match. I was so glad the character consistency was there when Seth is begging him, come on, let's do the shield bomb to Punk.
Yeah.
Why the fuck would Roman Reigns want to work with Seth Rollins after everything that's happened, right? So I was glad that he was absolutely not. And he took him out, and he took both of them out. So that was good. There was, for my taste, Matt, there was too much cinema in this match. Too much emoting and auraing as the three of them are waiting to see what Paul's gonna do. You made me do it. You made me do it. I didn't want to do it. And I understand why it happened. It's basically this new formula that the Bloodline Rules matches have established. The crowd was super into it, so I'll never take away from something getting over and working. It was just very dramatic in a campy pro wrestling way, but the crowd was into it. I did think Seth Rollins not even turning around and seeing Punk low blow Roman was a nice touch, and just sticking his hand out for the chair. That was pretty strong. I just wish at the end of the day that it had the stakes like I was talking about last week. If this made Seth Rollins the number one contender, all of a sudden he's got Paul Heyman in his corner as number one contender. Is in tight. He's got Paul Heyman in his corner as number one contender. We'd learn he'd get Braun Breaker in his corner, and that just, to me, would elevate the stakes so much more than just having Paul Heyman. But it was no doubt a successful main event, and it felt like a WrestleMania main event in that sense.
Yeah, indeed. And I got to say, the drama, I am here for all of that.
I know you are.
I loved every bit of it. Yeah, I loved it. I love how they'll sit back and they'll think through, what would the reactions be, and what is the shot going to be, and it's all planned out like you're shooting a movie. And I love all that stuff.
You would have liked if the lights dimmed, Paul Heyman had a little soliloquy, took the chair.
You can't do too much. You can't do too much for me. I'm the guy who played Broken Matt Hardy.
It's true. It's true. It's true. And as we know, Broken Matt Hardy has tried to transverse the universe in his broken state, but you won't have to when you have Blue Chew, because your dick's going to be fixed when you are taking Blue Chew. We can have better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. And starting now, Blue Chew is offering a combo so strong to knock your socks off and your neighbor's socks off as well. You'll have to move towns with the amount of noise you're going to be making with Blue Chew Max, because it has arrived and it combines the active ingredients of Viagra and Cialis into one chewable. The combo acts fast and it lasts. Guys, be ready when she needs it, and get your first month of Blue Chew free. Great sex is just a few clicks away. Sign up at BlueChew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you're going to receive your prescription within just days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the United States, prepared and shipped directly to your door, and the best part, it's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, no waiting line at the pharmacy. It comes in a black pouch, and you store it wherever you want it. Matt, man, maybe if only CM Punk had popped a few Blue Chews, he could have fixed all of his problems that's going on with Paul Heyman.
Maybe so. You could have went from broken to woken, right? The thing about Blue Chew that's great, once you start taking some Blue Chew, you're going to have people say, hey, what is that in your pocket? And you just say, nothing. I'm happy to see you. It does the trick every single time.
Oh, listen, when that AAA purchase announcement happened this week, I'm sure there were a lot of wrestling fans that you may have thought they popped the Blue Chew after hearing that. But now you can confirm that Blue Chew is going to help you stay hard and discover your options at BlueChew.com right now. We got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free when you use promo code HARDY, HARDY. Just pay $5 shipping. That's promo code HARDY. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. We thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the Extreme Life of Matt Hardy. Whew. Real quick, any thoughts on the AAA purchase by WWE?
It was wild. It was unexpected. But I'm very curious of where things are going to go. And it's very interesting, as we all know, that Tony was a big fan of AAA, Tony Khan, and AEW. So it's really interesting that WWE has made that decision to kind of move into the Lucha Libre market and purchase AAA and
what a
and try
coincidence, huh?
It's I don't think that's a coincidence, my friend. I think right now, people are businesses being business, and they're trying to grow business.
Certainly is the case. All right, let's get to night 2 here. Io Sky defeated Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley in 14 minutes and 25 seconds in a triple threat match to retain the Women's World Championship. Matt, I thought this was one of the strongest opening matches in WrestleMania history. It's one of the best women's matches in WWE history. All 3 women came across as megastars. Thought it was laid out tremendously as a match. And sometimes on WrestleMania, you just got to let the people go out there and wrestle. And that's what happened in this triple threat. What do you think of this opening match?
I thought it was stellar. I thought it was an incredible match. I mean, the girls went out there, they were moving. Their pace was off the charts. They were going real hard. It had a really well thought out triple threat match, and just the stuff they did with all 3 people in the ring, the combinations and counters and taking advantage of your opponents being tied up with each other. I thought it was great, man. It was really well thought out, and it was well executed too. And everybody came off as a big star in it.
That's the thing that I just kept thinking about was how massive everyone came across in this match, even from their entrances. Bianca Belair's entrance was spectacular, and just all 3 of them. I think for a lot of people, Io Sky sometimes became a little bit of an afterthought, and this match told the story of her proving she's not an afterthought.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Agreed. No, I agree, because I feel like of the people that were kind of in the match, Io Sky kind of had the least momentum in some ways, or at least the kind of the least terms of maybe feeling like a big star, but she really stood out in this match, and I'm glad they elevated her through it.
Yeah, the finish was fantastic, where it looked like Bianca was about to win. And then, a lot of times when you get those pin breakups off moves off the top, it can be a little contrived, and you're like waiting for the move to happen. You got to time it out. The timing was perfect on the moonsault off the top, right into the win for Io Sky. Josh saying awesome triple threat. It was great, and the perfect ending. I would not change anything about this match. This was as close to a 5-star match as you're going to get, not just for the action, but for the story they told in the ring. And I just thought all 3 women should be tremendously proud of what they did.
Agreed.
Let's keep going here. Drew McIntyre defeated Damian Priest in a Sin City street fight. Damian Priest got a cool entrance with the guitarist from Slayer. Man, hard-hitting match, brutal finish with the Claymore through the chair. Nice to see Drew get a good, solid WrestleMania win here in a brutal affair. What do you think of this street fight?
Very hard-hitting. It had a great level of violence, and some of it being smart violence. I think it was they took very smart, calculated risk in the violence they chose to do and perform. And one of the things that popped me so big is when he grabbed the camera, took the picture. I said, I remember telling Jeff, who I was watching with him, I said, dude, I guarantee you that stuff's out on his socials right now. It was 90 seconds later, you know, it was out, and it was amazing how it was getting retweets. It had 85,000 retweets on Twitter or whatever, and it was on Instagram and everything. And it was so funny. It's because it was a great callback to stuff he's done in the past. So, and funny, the caption, still bored at work, LOL.
Yeah.
Huge pop.
Did you
love the match? Thought it was super physical, and I was glad Drew won at the end. I really want to see big things out of Drew coming up in the next year.
Did you see that Drew won like social media star of the year for the Slammies?
I did. I saw that online. Yes.
You saw the clip?
I did not see the clip. I just saw he won the award.
Someone went out and decided that we're going to do all we can to fuck with Drew McIntyre here. And he's trying to give his acceptance speech, and there's like 5 interruptions during it. And then Chelsea Green's people steal the trophy because they feel she should have won. R-Truth comes out. He chases them to the back, comes back with the trophy, and he tries to bargain with him. And Drew, who is really good at not breaking, started to break. It was pretty funny stuff. So I'm all about Drew getting his flowers, and I thought it was great. Let's go to the Fatal 4-Way for the Intercontinental Championship. Your boy, Dominic Mysterio, defeating Braun Breaker, Finn Balor, and Penta by pinfall to win the match. He hits the frog splash on Finn Balor to become Intercontinental Champion. And Matt, there's an argument that this might have been the biggest pop of the weekend.
Yeah, no, it was, I mean, as much as they love to hate Dom, they also love to love Dom. Dom has become a star, and I so badly, after the match, want to say, congratulations, Dominic, and take that picture when I was with him and he was a little baby child, right? But I couldn't find it on my phone. But yeah, I thought it was super cool that he won this thing, and once again, I hadn't been following as closely. I knew Braun was being elevated more and more and more, but yeah, it was time for Braun to drop the IC title. I hadn't done all my homework when we were doing the predictions last week, and I am glad they did a deal where he was in a 4-way match where he could drop the title, and he's not the guy that got pinned, so he still stays strong, and his nastiness continues too. Like his nastiness has begun, much like Jacob Fatu's is.
My only issue with this match, and it was a pretty major issue for me, honestly, because I really did like most of the match. The finish of this match saw Dom break up a pin by doing a move off the top and then pinning said person, which is Finn Balor in this case, which is the same exact conceptual finish as the opening match on the show. And they're only 2 matches apart. I just don't understand how something like that passes the eye test backstage when you're laying the show together.
It does seem like something slipped through the cracks, John. No doubt about it, especially because they were so similar in those ways. That's something that usually doesn't happen in WWE. So I am very curious of what the true backstory of that was.
Because it's just so odd, and it feels like almost Dom could have just taken advantage of someone else doing a move and winning, like that would have fit in line with his character. But he's starting to get over in a way that's very similar. I'm not suggesting he's going to get to the same level that he did, but he's getting over in a way that's very similar to how Eddie started to get over before his main event run.
Right.
He was a heel that became so endearing that people loved. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens with him. And as you said, Braun Breaker destined for great things. You like the pairing of him and Seth Rollins as the new Dangerous Alliance? I
do like the pairing of him and Seth Rollins. And I think once again, Seth is so smart in what he does. Seth is a great guy to have him paired with. He'll learn from Seth so much.
If you could put a tag team with them to really cement it as a new Dangerous Alliance, which WWE tag team would you put with them?
Oh man, that's interesting. It's interesting to think about. So there were a lot of people that were saying stick Austin Theory with him. I saw that was something that was going on about an evolution thing. I don't know. Him and his partner, are they still a team right now?
Grayson Waller, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd say put DIY with them.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah. Poor Ciampa had to shave his beard because he nicked himself. I don't know if you saw that. That was pretty brutal.
That would be interesting, yeah.
All right, here's the moment I know you are so excited to talk about. Randy Orton issued an open challenge, and of all people, 60,000 people said his name, and he appeared. Joe Hendry answers the open challenge. They have a 3-minute, 10-second match. Randy Orton wins. But man, Las Vegas was eating up every single second of those 3 minutes and 10 seconds. How did you feel seeing your pal Joe Hendry, someone who you've been a believer in from pretty much day one, get this moment at WrestleMania, Matt?
Very, very happy for him. I actually had a very personal conversation with him about something else business wise that earlier that Sunday at WrestleCon. I saw him whenever we went to do our pro photo ops and chatted with him for a few minutes. But yeah, I'm very happy that he got over there. And he did say later it was very hard to keep that in for a week, that he had to keep it in. And I mean, I know that feeling. We had about 4 or 5 weeks that, we had to try and keep our shit quiet. But I was very happy for him. I was happy for Randy in some ways too, because I thought, this will be cool for Randy. Like, he'll have fun with it for sure. And you can tell
it's an easy night at the office for him.
You can tell by his reaction too. And Jeff and I actually saw Randy on our way out. And it's funny, we saw him right as we were walking out of the building at the WWE hotel into the parking lot. And we got to catch up with him for like 10, 12 minutes, which was real cool. And he was great. And he said, what are you guys doing? He said, you're aging backwards. He said, nothing's changed. You look better, if anything, which was great. But it was good to see him. And I'm happy for Joe, man. Joe is like the epitome of, manifesting things. He was talking about, manifesting being on WrestleMania. He was talking about manifesting being in the Royal Rumble. And these things have happened. And the fact that he was in there and there were criticism because it was short, like, I get it. I mean, Randy Orton is one of the most iconic and legendary figures of WWE, and it is what it is. I'm sure they thought too, like, well, these people don't really know Joe Hendry. It's not like we should have a long thing. And I think the best case scenario is to go out there, have an entertaining few minutes. How long was it officially?
3 minutes, 10 seconds.
3:10. Have an entertaining, few minutes out there, whatever it may be. And they did that deal where he turned around and got us look in, and then it was shot perfectly from the camera work and the production truck, the RKO out of nowhere. And then even when they did the thing at the end, Randy helping him up and doing his pose, and then helping him up and then giving him one more RKO. It was in some ways like Randy half-ass endorsing him, because that's like, what Randy is very famous for, right? So it was one of those things. I think for TNA, it was a positive, and I think for Joe Hendry, it was a big deal. And regardless of winning or losing, it was the moment, and the fact that he is not on the WWE roster. He's never done anything WWE beside that Royal Rumble and NXT stuff, and he showed up on WrestleMania to fight one of the biggest stars in all of the WWE history. And it was a very cool moment for him. And he lost nothing by doing that.
I totally agree with you. Josh saying amazing pop for Joe, elevated Joe, kept Randy as a top guy, which made sense for Raw, what we'd see with him there. It is, in the case of a Joe Hendry, it's about having that great moment, right? And the way the RKO to win the match was shot was just so fantastic, where Joe's hitting his pose, and then quite literally out of nowhere on frame, Randy Orton brings him down, which I thought was very well done production-wise. And they probably didn't get a chance to rehearse that, Matt, because this all was kept very secret. So they put this all together pretty discreetly. Joe mentioned in his interview with Ariel Helwani, John Cena lost a WrestleMania match in minutes before to The Undertaker. So if John Cena can do that, anyone can do that. And I thought that it worked really, really well here. Would you like to have seen Randy have his great blow-off match with Kevin Owens? Sure. I think we all would have liked to have seen that. But as a nice consolation with a guy like Joe Hendry showing that manifestation is a very real thing, how can you not smile, right? And he's a great guy on top of it too.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, big, really proud, really happy for Joe. And once again, I think it's going to be a big positive for TNA. And I also think TNA having this resurgence and growing again. We talked about earlier, they've got a lot of negotiations with bigger television platforms. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on at TNA. And I think this is nothing but a positive. It's going to make people say like, oh, the TNA champion, let me check that out,
Yeah. I mean, I had a lot of people who tune in for WrestleMania, don't really watch WWE or wrestling. And we're like, who's this Joe Hendry guy? The crowd loves him.
Yeah.
And I told them, and they're like, oh, I'll check him out. So that's always a good thing.
Sure.
Logan Paul defeated AJ Styles 17 minutes, 50 seconds. I got to be honest with you, Matt. This match really didn't hit for me at all. And I was a little disappointed in that because I had high expectations that even though I didn't love the build, I just thought that They did not lay this match out well. I didn't think their chemistry was as good as I was hoping it was going to be. And I think some of the fans are starting to get a little tired of the Logan Paul experience, if you will. How do you feel about this match?
I can absolutely see where you're coming from with that. I feel like a little bit of the Logan Paul love has rubbed off a little bit, and I almost feel like they for a Logan Paul match with AJ, I thought the match was good. I thought it was good, but I thought it may have been too long. I think it maybe would have served them better to be a little bit shorter and just kept Logan Paul's stuff a little tighter. Just because Logan Paul is like just a match here and a match there type guy in many, many ways. And it was interesting that they had, Kevin Cross come out and do the deal where he was trying to smart up AJ, and he did a hell of a promo the next day too, where he was just talking about how he's been struggling to have a chance, and the guy who's been around for all these years and not on the WrestleMania card, and just ends up coming ringside for a moment. He's trying to get AJ to use the Nugs, whatever else, and that thing was a little intriguing. I guess you're doing something there with AJ and him going forward, but the match was okay, but it wasn't my favorite Logan Paul match of all time. I can tell you that.
Just a little disappointing because who knows how many WrestleManias AJ Styles has left. So we'll see. As you say, AJ Styles, one of my favorite wrestlers. I decided this was the time to start making dinner. I'm just over the Logan Paul experiment, he says. So yeah, we'll see if some of that Logan Paul dust continues to rub off, or if he can reinvigorate it a little bit. The women's tag. So we predicted this match with Bayley in mind, but they did an angle where Bayley got removed from the WrestleMania card. Lyra Valkyria and a returning Becky Lynch defeated Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez the next night. They would lose the belts back to them, and Becky would turn heel on Lyra Valkyria. I mean, the match itself was a match. I didn't think the match was really designed to do anything other than showcase Becky returning here. How do you feel about Bayley getting pulled from the show, them choosing to run an angle like this? What are your thoughts?
I mean, it's obvious. I guess they had been working to get something going with Becky Lynch, and they ended up going with what they felt was for the greater good, getting Becky Lynch back on TV and having the man come back around. I thought the match was good. I thought the match was fine. I didn't have any kind of issues with it. It did do a good job of enhancing Becky. And then you see the next night, they know how to immediately, boom, they use that rematch clause, that old WWE rematch clause, and they win the tag titles back, and then you have a Becky heel turn. So that's really where they wanted to get, and I felt like they thought the best way to present her was introduce her back on the big stage.
How'd you feel about Bayley losing her match?
I mean, that's tough, especially if it's no legit injury. Like I don't know what is the deal.
It's not. It was an angle.
It's all a work deal. So yeah, I didn't know that, and that kind of sucks. But that's also something that happens time to time in the world of WWE.
I just feel like this could have been done without having to take a spot from Bayley. Like, why not just have a women's intercontinental championship match with Lyra Valkyria and a returning Becky Lynch, and then the next night she turns on her? Like, I don't know. I didn't think you needed to take a spot from someone else and put all the other stuff on the back burner in order to do. It felt like a very weird vehicle to me for all that to happen. I'm fine with them having Becky come back and turn heel and try to give a little bit of a rub to Lyra Valkyria here, but it seemed a little bizarre to me to flip the titles like that and take a spot away from someone. It feels like there might have been too many cooks in the kitchen on that for me. But anyway, I digress, because there very possibly could have been too many cooks in the kitchen on this main event. Matt Hardy, John Cena defeated Cody Rhodes in
what a great segue.
Yeah. John Cena is a 17-time world champion here, Matt. He wins after Travis Scott comes down to the ring and tries to get involved. He takes 2 minutes. He has a full-ass Undertaker entrance in the middle of this match. He tries to get in. Cody hits him with the crossroads. There's a very dramatic tug of war over the WWE championship between Cody and Cena. Cody takes the belt. John's begging for him not to hit him. Cody's conflicted. He doesn't know what to do. Is he going to take out his hero? and he can't bring himself to do it. And Jon punts him in the balls to win 17. No Rock. This was an event. You alluded some of your thoughts earlier in the show. Play it out for us here.
Well, I am mainly going to address the thing where you got the very sarcastic tone and started going back and forth. I couldn't do that to his hero. You know, the match, when I watched it back, you know, especially the match they had between one another, you had Cody kick out of multiple FUs, right? He escaped the STFU a couple times.
Look at you throwing it back, old school FU. I love it.
Yeah. And I thought, especially for what I expected for Jon, you know, Jon being older, he said this is last year, whatever. I still thought he had a real solid match for a main event when it was all said and done. The biggest critique I would have is just that finish and protecting Cody and the way it was done. Like, if they have Travis come out, and I would have loved to have seen Rock there. I felt like Rock being there would have made sense. It would have kind of tied everything together. That was part of the story.
No, didn't you hear that? It wouldn't have made sense to have The Rock there because the sell your soul stuff didn't matter anymore. I mean, Rock said it himself. So why? Come on, Matt. But use your brain for a second here.
Okay, well, I'll go back to Travis Scott then. So what I would have personally liked to see is something where they end up doing the spot where, once again, Cody had already had a visual pinfall, and now there's another one. And there's another pinfall after Crossroads, and there's a 1-2, and Travis Scott pulls out the ref, which is a spot that did happen in the match. Pulls out the ref, and the ref is supposedly knocked out. Maybe he gets up on the apron like he's going to come. Cody goes to confront him. Cody goes after him, but then he chases him around the ring or something. He comes back in, and now Jon has gotten back up, and Jon has the title. And now Jon swings, and Cody catches it, and they're fighting back and forth, and they kind of are struggling, and they turn around, and then finally, when Cody is free and he has the title, and he's going to hit Cena, at the last second, Travis Scott just hits him around where he drops the title. He turns around, Crossroads him, and that's where he gets blasted with the title. You know what I mean? I'd like to see something. I don't want to see the deal where Cody has this title after what John Cena had done to him, where he put him in the balls. They beat him blatantly. They destroyed him. They attacked him. And now that he has sympathy for this guy, I felt like you can't put Cody in that position. It's just hard for Cody. I want Cody to still be the cool babyface champ. As you said, he was getting a polarizing reaction because so many people were excited. They were hoping and expecting, or, you know, secretly hoping to see John Cena be 17-time world champion. A lot of the crowd was. But I don't want to see Cody in that position where he looks weak. We need to keep Cody as strong as possible. And in that finish, I would have tried to book him as strong as possible. And if the ultimate story is he gets kicked in the nuts and hit with a title, I'm fine with that. But the way we get into it is the thing I'm critical of.
Yeah, the struggle for the title looks so cartoonish and silly. And not wanting to hit Jon when he had no problem murdering Kevin Owens and tried to take AJ Styles' head off with a steel step. That was such an character action.
Just where Cody was so conflicted, that was a big disconnect, I feel.
Yes.
For the audience.
It was very inconsistent with the character that they've established. And The Rock not being there really was disappointing to the catalyst of action for all of this. And obviously we have the benefit of hindsight, Matt. But I think it would have been so much smarter if Jon was going to turn him at WrestleMania here rather than at Elimination Chamber. You didn't need The Rock at all.
Sure. In the course of the match, where you start the match as babyface.
You have the match, babyface. The story is Jon wants to win 17. Cody's not going to let him. And then Jon stoops to a level that we would have never imagined him stooping to in order to win 17. And that would have been the most shocking and clairvoyant way to do this. None of the Rock silliness. It just was such a big disconnect. And Rock going on the Pat McAfee show. And look, I love Dwayne. He's one of my favorite performers of all time. But going on the Pat McAfee show and saying, yeah, you know, I don't know if I would have done it that way. Just felt like throwing that entire creative team under the bus for a story that he started and was a big part of and then didn't show up for the big climax for. That just seemed like a really weak way out to me.
I mean, it's just hard after you implement. There we go. Let me see.
Rajiv says the build
There
made
we go.
no
Yep.
sense based on the story told at Elimination Chamber. It's like a sitcom that always rewrites a character's history. They're retconning.
After you insert The Rock at Elimination Chamber, I mean, I feel like it's vital for him to be there.
Yes, that's
You know,
storytelling.
that's the whole thing. That's what you're selling the audience on. You put him and Cena together, and that's the whole selling point of the story they're telling. So yeah, that was. I wish Rock would have been there as well. And then at the end, Cody has busted his ass for a year. He went through every trial and tribulation to get back in the ring with Roman Reigns, and he finished the story. And as the top guy, he has been the face of WWE, and he has been a legit babyface, and people have believed in him. He's seemed ultra credible. He has had great equity in him, and I just hate the fact that we did that disconnect where, there were these other guys where he made those decisions like, hey, I've sold my soul to the people, and I will do anything to retain this title for them. I will do anything to retain this title for him. And he showed that in matches, like you said, with AJ Styles and Kevin Owens and whoever else. But, the fact that he didn't follow through with that when John Cena was his opposition, and John Cena did these terrible things to him and betrayed him, was just like that. That's something I wasn't crazy about, because you are going to have Cody, still one of the top, the top characters and one of the faces of the WWE for years to come.
Yeah. I mean, hell, dude, if they did this turn at Mania instead, Cena turns and then maybe he throws up the throat slash after to show that he's with The Rock. Like there's so many ways you could have done that. And I just feel like we should be sitting here talking about the lasting image of WrestleMania being John Cena winning 17. And that's not what people are talking about. They're talking about Travis Scott getting involved. They're talking about Cody looking silly. They're talking about The Rock not being there. That's the disappointing part. And I heard a lot of people that were in the stadium left very disappointed. Not that Cena won, but instead just they were expecting The Rock, or they were expecting something more consequential, and it just didn't happen. So, I mean, Rajiv's saying, let it play out.
There we go. We're going to try and let it play out.
Just, yeah, I don't know, man. And that put a damper on what I thought night 2 was a very good show overall, and felt a lot more like WrestleMania to me. So that was a little disappointing in that sense. But
in totality for that night 2, I did like night 2. I think it was stronger than the night 1 in totality.
Yes.
But I think still you do have that image of John there at the very end. He's a 17-time world champion. He broke a record. He's the guy that has held the most titles for WWE, and I think he's a great guy to do it. A company guy, a guy who's never even thought about leaving WWE. He's WWE through and through and through and through. So I don't mind seeing him be the guy who holds that record and is the standard bearer, so to say. Now I just look forward to this journey of what John ends up doing, and I'm hoping, I'm hoping they come up with some really fun, creative ways to get back to this match and for him to do whatever he has to do to put Cody back on the throne.
Yeah, he and Randy are going to be going at it looks like. So
yeah, that was cool.
See them do it one more time, because we didn't get that match enough from 2009 to 2014. We get it one more time. No, I'm kidding. I'm all about it. They should definitely do it one more time. So we'll get that. Anything else you want to say about WrestleMania?
No, I mean, just once again, huge spectacle. I love the extravagant entrances. I love the big arena settings and just the setup. I thought it was just really fun. I thought it was, the grandeur was there, and it felt like WrestleMania, the showcase of the Immortals. So that was fun. It was fun to watch. And I haven't sat down and watched a wrestling event in full, and I ended up watching all of this one just because I wanted to review it and be able to talk about it and know what the hell I was talking about. So it was fun to sit back and watch it and enjoy it.
I agree. It's still WrestleMania at the end of the day. And anytime the whole wrestling industry comes together, it's a good day at the office as far as I see it. And you're going to have a good day at the office if you head on over to advertisewithhardy.com, promote your business to the extreme, get out in front of thousands of listeners and viewers every single week. That's advertisewithhardy.com. All right, man. Another one in the books. We've been going for 7 hours and 23 minutes. Anything else you want to say to the diehardies out there?
I thought we were at least 9 hours tonight. To the diehardies, I just want to say, first and foremost, we will see you this Sunday in LA. It'll be Rebellion on Sunday. Myself and Jeff, we're taking on the Nemesis for the TNA World Tag Team titles. And this house and gate in LA should be the biggest attended American TNA show in 15 years or something outrageous, I think. So it's gonna be a big deal. It should be really cool and really fun. And I hope to see you there. And I want to tell you this: if you're listening on the podcast early, if you do want to do a post-show meet and greet, they are going to limit the number of post-show meet and greets we're going to do. So get yours as early as possible, because Brother Nero and I, we got a family to feed. We got to get back to him on a red eye. So we can't go until the wee hours of the night. So get your post-show meet and greets early.
Certainly. So I encourage you guys, Matt Hardy Brand on YouTube, go like and subscribe this video as soon as it drops. Leave us a comment. Leave us that 5-star review. Help us out and get the podcast out in front of more people every single week. This has been fun, Matt. The words have been spoken. We'll see you next time right here on The Extreme Life of Matt Hardy.
Die!
Double J, Jeff Jarrett, here to tell you a little bit about the nonstop savings happening over here at SaveWithConrad.com. Are high credit card balances holding you down on the card? If you're looking to give a guitar shot to your credit card debt or give your home the push it deserves with some upgrades and remodeling, you need to go to SaveWithConrad.com. That's right, SaveWithConrad.com. Conrad and his team are routinely helping My World listeners save $500, $600, $700, even $800 a month. Oh, did I mention you get to skip your next 2 house payments? Take a cue from The Last Outlaw, because if anybody knows how to get the bag, it's me. Strut on over to SaveWithConrad.com today and see how much money you can save for free. That's right, it's SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.